Today I'm going to go over the mortises and dowel making for my Roubo workbench I'm working on. I'll be fast forwarding most of it so it doesn't take too long because I'm not really trying to show how to do a mortise. These are my first mortises ever really, so there's other videos that would show you how to do that better, obviously. But I think they came out pretty good. Nice and rectangular looking and I think fairly tight. And I think worked out pretty good. I have links below in the description if you do the show more for the dowel plate and the bits that I used today. I used a hardboard template, some thin pieces, 4 pieces to make a little template rectangle to help the router follow the template with the collar on it. That worked out pretty good. I made it a little smaller so that I had to do the final stuff by chisel because I wasn't sure I'd be able to put that template exactly where I wanted it. Where with the chisel, when I did that, it came out precisely where I wanted it. I tried making this little attachment for the vacuum hose to get some of the chips. I don't know if it hardly got any of them at all because they were flying everywhere. Make sure and use your dust mask because wow, it was making a mess. So I did it in several passes. I said just take out a little bit of material each time. Don't do too deep at once. My router is too old to be able to have any attachments for dust collection. So that's why I just made my own. At least that was an attempt, and like I said, I don't think it was sucking up much of the dust. Trying to get to a final depth of the mortise here. I use the digital calipers to mark the edges of the mortise. I was able to use the chisel to go right to those, which really worked out really good. I don't know if it was the right way to do it or not, but I noticed when I would put a pencil mark around the tenon, it would rub off in the spots where it was really super tight, so I was kind of using that to show where I needed to chisel off a little bit, which seemed to really help. It seemed to work good for me. The combination square really helped super a lot to make sure that I was going in exactly perpendicular, making sure the walls were straight, and then I could test it by scooting around and seeing where I needed to take off material. It helped a lot doing these first because when I did the mortises in the bottom of the top for where the legs go, the book said to assemble the base first so I could mark exactly where those tenons were going to be setting on the top of the bench. drill press doesn't have enough room to drill the hole in the leg for the crisscross for the leg vise. So I made this little plywood 90-degree piece, which is 90 degrees to the leg too, so I can put the drill bit right in the corner here, and as long as I keep it up against the walls of this, it should drill it perpendicular down through there. So I got that started, and I'll just continue on with that. And I do have a piece on underneath down here, so it won't blow out when it comes through the opposite side on the bottom. And it's a couple inches off the surface of the table saw, so I won't hit that. And I marked it also here, so I won't go past and hit the table saw. I got the crisscross mortise dug out with the router. I forgot to film that part, but that was pretty easy. The same setup as I used to mostly route out the mortises in the legs for the stretchers. I just cut one of the pins for the crisscross that goes through the leg to the length. Also, I'm going to zoom in here where you can see I polish it on the edges and use sandpaper in a file after I cut it with the hacksaw. So I use the file first, and then I use some 220 sandpaper and some 400 sandpaper, and then some, I don't know if it's like 600 or 1000 sandpaper, and then I use some polishing compound because I just figured might as well make the ends of this look nice because they're going to be sticking out of the leg. So I'll zoom in there, and there's the one that came from the factory, just cut with the hacksaw, and on the left is the shorter one that I cut, and it's polished on both ends. Just almost a mirror finish, so it looks pretty nice. I used the dowel plate to make the dowels. I started off on the bandsaw to cut the pieces out. This is for the 3/8 dowels. The punch, when I used that to go through the very last bit, because I didn't want to hammer on top of the dowel plate, I also was super careful not to hit the punch on the edges of the hole for the dowel. Sometimes these would break too. It's kind of a hit and miss as to whether you'll have a successful dowel. You can see the mortise down here, so the pins will have to go down through here and through here to go through the tenon once that's in there. So 3 3/4 is what they say to go. I've marked the bit with tape at 3 3/4, and it's on there in such a way that when the tape hits this, it's not going to unravel. Should keep it on there. Measure that depth once again. Can't measure enough times because I'm sure I'll make a mistake at some point here. But I'll start with this brad point drill, and I've kind of looked over from the side here and made sure, double checking, it looks like these will be right about where I want them. Evenly spaced, and it's 1 inch in here. So I'll get the bit right in there. I made a new intro for all my videos. This is the first one with it. I have a time lapse of the stars that I did. I took myself. The background tree frogs are from my pond, and it was kind of funny when I was editing the video. I wanted the frogs to be just kind of a quiet background noise, not really blasting in the speakers. And I'm lowering the volume of them, and I'm trying to hear anything at all out of my speakers because the real tree frogs, meanwhile, were just blasting away with a massive roar I seriously couldn't barely hear any noise out of my speakers at all, so it was kind of funny. If you like this, subscribe and hit like. Thanks a lot.